was born August 1st, 1972, Darnell Army Hospital in Killeen, Texas.
Hey! Just put the gun down and come talk to us, man!
Only on Fox Carolina, we sit down with the attorney for Robert Lee Campbell, a man killed by a Greenville County deputy. And as you just heard in that body camera footage, deputies thought they were in a standoff with their suspect, Larry Simmons. But Campbell's attorney says the situation escalated before deputies could figure what was actually happening.
We were married on May 30th, 2000.
I was in my early 20s. I was still figuring out a lot of things. And I just remember calling him and I said, "Dad, I need help." And he was like, I could hear a little worry in his voice, like, "What's wrong, son?"
He was always, "I'm here if you need me, you know I got you." But he wasn't one that would, be involved in everything. It just wasn't his thing. You know, I think that's why him and my daughter got along so well, because she could go to him just when she needed to. He was always kind of like a second dad and very nurturing and gave me a lot of life lessons. And
he was really smart. He didn't like drama, I can tell you that. He would walk away from any of that. But, and he had a really good taste in classic music.
He liked to fish, but he's always blonde-headed and blue-eyed.
I remember, like I said, even getting older and dating, he didn't want us to go to the boyfriend's house and stuff. Like, boyfriend needed to come to our house,
Honestly, sitting up at the bar, I would invite him into a conversation with me and Aunt Denise, and I'd be like, "Well, Robbo, what do you think?" And most of the time he'd be like, "Eh," but after a while he'd be like, "Well, to be honest with you," so it took a while, but.
He never gave me a feeling about ever needing to ever be afraid of police. It was always call them when you need them and comply and do what you're supposed to, but mainly keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble.
January 26, 11:14 p.m., a Greenville County Sheriff's deputy walks down a fence on Cemetery Road. He's looking for a suspect last seen at the fenced-in property. That suspect's name, Larry Simmons. The deputy reaches the end of the fence and sees a person. He thinks it's Simmons, but it's not.
There was something all over Facebook about a shooting on Cemetery Street.
The crazy thing, I was coming home from work. He had texted me at 11:10 and said, "How's the workflow going?"
Okay, Highway 20 could be a bunch of different places, so I didn't think much of it because it never gave the location. It didn't say down towards the line or up near Greenville,
I even texted Robert. I said, "Son, what in the world's going on over there?" Or something to that effect. I still got it on my phone, not knowing that he was already dead, that he'd been murdered.
I called Caleb and I said, "Something's wrong with your dad, something's happened." And he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "He's not answering his phone, and there's blue lights everywhere, they won't let me get through here. I don't know what's happening." And he said, "Well, just turn around, come on, this way, and we'll try to find out."
There's just something not right, because it shouldn't have took so long for everything to happen. It shouldn't have took us to the next evening finding out my brother was dead at 12 o'clock the night before.
The deputy reaches the end of the fence and sees a person. He thinks it's Simmons, but it's not. The deputy sees a weapon, goes to his car for a rifle after repeatedly calling out to who he thinks is Simmons. Make a shot. 20 seconds later, the deputy fires 2 shots. An unknown amount of time later, investigators discover it wasn't Simmons the deputy shot and killed. It was Campbell.
I don't think you realize what a great man that you took from this world. And in a second, a good husband, a good father, a good son.
Make us these shirts. I said, we need to get the word out and the hashtag out, because we're not going to lay down and take this. Because if there was one thing about Robbo, he would always tell you, because, we would watch the true crime on, the TV at the Legion, and he goes, if you just comply, you can live to tell about it for another day.
You comply or you die. That's what he used to say. I mean, that's why it was so, like I said, confusing when all we were told was, well, he was shot by police. Shot,
There is no way possible that this man fired at police, that he shot a gun towards police. No way.
I knew that there was no way that there was going to be any communication from the distance that was being spoken to. I knew that immediately. I lived there. Majority of my youth, I lived on that exact location. So I know how dark it is. I know how long that driveway is. There was no way to be able to effectively communicate from that distance, in my opinion. I mean, if you had a drone, why didn't you send that in before you shot? You know, you were not supposed to be so trigger happy as to shoot when you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know who you're talking to. But the fact that in the whole video, they're not calling him, they're calling the other person, then he never thought, in my opinion, he never thought they're talking to me. They're talking to this guy. I'm going to help get this guy to the police and get him off my property.
I don't think that it was a justifiable shooting. There was no proper lighting. There was no backup. There was nothing.
And my take on this whole thing is, you can say what you want about Robert. You can say what you want about our family. You can, try to analyze it, critique it, however you want to. But at the end of the day, you misidentified that man who was defending his own property and shot and killed an innocent man.
Especially if you've already had issues with this person, or that, So I don't believe that my uncle would have done anything to ever harm anyone, especially the police. He wasn't that kind of person.
If he shot in the air to protect his land, to tell whoever, to warn whoever to get out of here.
And as we've said, this wasn't the first time that the neighbors or, just other passerbys were messing around on the property and looking into stuff. They didn't even announce themselves but 2 times, and they were behind the fence at that point, per the video.
All they had to do was flip their blue light, and he would have
dropped his gun.
So he had a very favorable attitude toward police. I mean, we never had no reason not to. We grew up in a police family. Functions and barbecues, because used to, they would invite the community out to do things.
My grandpa was was police, so if he was gifted gun, he knew what he was doing. There was no
And his own father and grandfather, they were veterans as well.
They were veterans too.
And they all went hunting, and gun safety is very establishedly known in our family.
They can say that it was justifiable just to cover them, but this was not, and they know it. And even if this officer is not going to go down, he has to live with it every day, knowing that Robert was an innocent guy.
How am I supposed to still look at my kids and say they're safe to call the police? It makes you lose faith in the system, and it makes you kind of scared.
It's been my experience that all the police officials, whatever their title may be, they have wanted to put him down and portray him as something that he wasn't.
It's just been made that he was this crazy person that walked outside and shot at police, and and that's insane.
And I don't care what bad they have to say. I don't care how they spin it. You were calling him by this other man's name. You thought that was who that was, but didn't take the time to make sure.
Their procedures or policies to be more enforced, to where they have to use a bullhorn if they're so many feet away, or or at least have their lights on, because
he's missed, and he's the topic of conversation all the time.
And I want the public to know that, no way would Robert have ever shot at anyone.
But I think that justice for Robert would be to admit that they were wrong, to try to prevent anybody else from dying this way.
For them was a normal day at work. For us, was not just devastating, it was life-altering.
Fox Carolina's investigative reporter Grace Runkle reviewed the body camera footage with the Campbell family attorney. So Grace, what questions now does he raise tonight?
The attorney says he wants to see the full unedited body camera video from the night Robert Lee Campbell died. And right now he says the public is being told a one-sided story.